What's up, football heads? Welcome back to that show. I am your host, Kyle McQueen, and today, on a Let Me Talk to You Tuesday, the Packers game management damn near cost them a game. The Bengals are not serious people. Liam Coen might need witness protection, and we're going to fix overtime. Let's get into it.
Let me talk to you.
First off, I want to lead with this overtime thing, and I should have probably done this a day earlier, but it is what it is. We all watched that game, Sunday Night Football. I think we all came in expecting the Packers probably going to just ragdoll the Cowboys. The Cowboys' defenses look terrible. The Packers' defenses look pretty damn good thus far. Micah Parsons is going to get some revenge. Jerry Jones is going to look like an idiot. And Parsons is going to have 3-4 sacks on Dak Prescott. We all knew what the script was. And it started out that way. 2 touchdowns for the Packers. They line up to kick an extra point to go up 14-0. And we'll get into this later. Another blocked kick bounces right to homeboy on the Cowboys. He takes it all the way back for the 2 points. And the game just kind of flipped. Cowboys they got the lead at halftime, and then the second half was just a shootout. If you love offensive football, you love watching that game. Even if you're like me that loves those old Pittsburgh, Baltimore, 6-3 in the snow type of games, you had to be entertained by this game. It's prime time. There's nothing else on TV. There's nothing else to do. You got the game on. You're just hoping it's going to be a fun, close, entertaining game that can draw your interest in. Game goes to overtime, and then it just ends in a tie. A tie in football. Come on, man. Come on. This ain't soccer. A tie? Can't happen. We got to fix overtime. And they keep tweaking overtime. My Vikings lose in the NFC Championship game in 2009. They go to overtime. Drew Brees takes the Saints right down the field. They kick a field goal. Game's over. And everyone says, it's not fair. It's not fair. Brett Favre, he should have had a chance. All he did was kick a field goal. Brett Favre didn't even get a chance. So they changed the rule. Where now if you score a touchdown, the game's over. But if you get a field goal, the other team gets the ball. And I have a fundamental problem with this because they had 60 minutes to win the game. If Adrian Peterson didn't fumble 35 times, if they didn't come out of the huddle with 12 or come out of a timeout with 12 men in the huddle, if Brett Favre didn't throw a back-breaking pick as he always does, they would have won the game. It's their own fault. Why do they deserve another shot at it? They did everything they could to lose the game. They still go to overtime, and they just couldn't stop them. The Saints kick a field goal. They win the game. It's fine. And then we fast forward however many years it was, 13 years. The Bills, the Chiefs go however many yards they went in 13, 14 seconds, kick a field goal. We go to overtime. Patrick Mahomes brings them down the field, score a touchdown, they win the game. Oh, it's not fair. Josh Allen didn't get another chance. You had 60 minutes to win the game. You couldn't win the game, and then you couldn't stop them. Why should they get another chance? So then we change the rules again, and then we change them again to have the playoff overtime rules in the regular season because it's not fair. But we can't go double OT because we can't have them play too much because of player safety issues. And on top of that, we're not going to have a regular 15-minute quarter. Now it's a 10-minute timed quarter. The Cowboys and the Packers each had one possession in 10 minutes. And the clock ran all the way down. And it was a tie. If you're going to do this Mickey Mouse crap because it's fair, at least do 15 minutes. Come on. What are we doing? I don't want to hear the fair thing. And then I was talking to a friend of mine, friend of the show, the Buffalorian, and I was making my points, and he said, because my point is defense is part of the game. If you can't stop them, then maybe you don't deserve to win. Play better defense. Don't give up a touchdown. Don't let them go all the way down the field and score a touchdown. His point was, well, defense is part of the game, so both teams' defense should be forced to be a part of it. Well, guess what? You had 60 minutes to stop them one more time than you did and win the game. It's that simple. We need true sudden death back. True sudden death. It's not about being fair. And I'll say this. I can understand in today's day and age where the touchback, you go to the 35, you got kickers who are banging in 60, 65-yard field goals now. Brandon Aubrey might be the best kicker in football history. I'm not saying he's the greatest. He doesn't have the resume to be the greatest, but he might be the best. He bangs them in from 60 plus with consistency. And then he's got this down to a science where he kicks the ball, lands in the landing zone, bounces into the end zone. The guy has to down it, comes out to the 20. I really like the new kickoff rules. There's a dynamic nature to it. There's a variance in potential outcomes. It really becomes a highly strategic play. It makes the kicker a true weapon. And like for years, it's like, kickers aren't football players. Like, but kicking's part of the game. So like, we should tailor the game to some degree to make the kickers a part of the game, to make kickers football players. Brandon Aubrey's a football player. You don't think every player on that Cowboys team loves them some Brandon Aubrey. You're crazy. But if you get a touchback, it comes out to the 35, what do you got to do? You get a completion, 2 completions, and you can kick a field goal and win the game. So I can vibe with a field goal not being enough for sudden death, but regular season playoffs, if you can't stop them and they go down and they score a touchdown, I'm sorry. The game should just end. It doesn't need to be fair. Why does football have to be fair? Why do sports have to be fair? It's not like guys are taking performance enhancing drugs. It's not like they got extra men on the field. Why does it need to be fair? You had 60 minutes to win the game. You couldn't win the game. You couldn't stop them in overtime. They score a touchdown. Too bad. You lose. So here's what I'm doing to fix the game. You get 1 possession. There is 1 overtime possession. Just 1. You can't kick a field goal. You got to score a touchdown. Whoever wins the toss, they can choose. We want to play offense. We want to play defense. Whoever's on offense, you go score a touchdown, you win the game. If you don't go score a touchdown, you lose the game. It's that simple. To be a team that's worthy of anything, for any of this to matter come the playoffs or come the Super Bowl, you got to be a good enough offense and a good enough defense. You don't need both units to play in overtime for fair, equitable balance. If your defense can't get a stop, if your offense can't get a touchdown, you don't deserve to win the game. That's it. That's it. I don't care if it's fair. It's football. We don't need to dull down the situation to the point where we can get a tie in an electric game that everybody was enjoying that just ends because, it's got to be fair. Both teams got to touch the ball. Stop being a crybaby. 1 possession. 1 team gets the ball. They score, they win. They don't, they lose. It's that simple. And then I hear you, then it comes down to the coin toss. Whoever wins the coin toss, they have an unfair advantage. I don't care about fairness, but I'll hear you on the coin toss. Coins have nothing to do with football. They don't. So here's what we're going to do, because we're taking the kicking game out, and it comes down to you score a touchdown, and you win, or you don't, and you lose. To determine who gets first ball, we have a kickoff. The 2 kickers, you start at 50 yards. They both kick. They both make it. We go to 55, and you go until someone misses and someone makes it. Whoever makes it, that team gets the ball. So the kicking becomes a factor. You use the time that takes to let the defense get a little rest because they're playing a little extra ball. It is what it is. Now, should that matter? No. Get it done in regulation. But we have a kickoff between the 2 kickers. Team that wins the kickoff, they get to choose. We want to put our offense out there. We want to put our defense out there. 1 drive. That's it. Untimed. Doesn't matter. Don't need it. Stop them or score. That's it. Whoever wins the drive wins the game. You had 60 minutes to get it done. You couldn't get it done, so it's coming down to 1 drive, sudden death. That's that. That's football. That's entertainment. It prevents needing 10, 15, double overtime, whatever the case is. And if you want to tweak it for the playoffs because we're dealing with the best of the best and we want to be sure that the best team's winning because we want the best team to win the championship, and you want to tweak that and keep the current playoff overtime rules in place, fine. But the regular season, I don't want any of these ties. You don't want these ties. Nobody wants ties. Ties are not good for the game. They're not good for the standings. They're not good for entertainment. And at the end of the day, whether you like it or not, the NFL, first and foremost, is not a sport. It's not a game. It is entertainment. And ties suck. Change the rules. One drive, winner take all. That's what it should be. And the Cowboys should have took all. Could have took all. Because the Packers' game management there at the end was terrible. I don't know what happened. Like, it doesn't seem like it's been an issue, and then just suddenly on that play, like, Jordan Love, he's changing stuff, and he's lining stuff up, and it's at a certain point, it's like, yo, you got to get up there and rip this thing off, dude. They got lucky. If he got that ball out a split second later, or if the linebacker got his head around and had the wherewithal to bat the ball up into the air out of the end zone, or pick it off, which, I mean, the clock wouldn't have mattered at that point. But if he didn't get the ball out exactly when he did, and it didn't hit that guy and go straight into the dirt, they would have lost that game. Packers got very lucky that they got the tie. They breathed a sigh of relief at that tie, as uninspiring as any tie in sports is. But I don't know what happened there, man. That was rough to watch. As a Vikings fan, I'm sitting here and a pseudo Cowboys fan. One of my best friends, my favorite person to talk to football about, is a diehard Cowboys fan. He made me see the light on how unfairly they're treated by the media, how everyone hates the Cowboys for reasons that don't make any sense at all. The Cowboys fans, they think every year is their year. No, they don't. That's what the media tells you. Cowboys fans aren't out there saying this is our year. They're out there saying, like, oh my God, it's been 30 years since we've been to a championship game. Like, can we just, like, not screw it up royally? Please. Please. Oh my God. So I don't buy into that. It's the media and Jerry Jones that keep them as, like, the number one topic all the time. It ain't the Cowboys' fault. Give up the hate. But anyway, I digress. So obviously I'm rooting for the Cowboys because I hate the Packers. Just is what it is. Sorry, Packers fans. I'm a Vikings fan. You can hate my Vikings. It's fine. It's sports. So I was thoroughly enjoying the breakdown there. But, like, the Packers 2 weeks ago, Super Bowl favorites, and I will say I put a few dollars on the Packers when they were plus 2,000 to win the Super Bowl. 3 days later, they traded for Micah Parsons, and those odds shot up. And then the first 2 weeks, they looked like they were just going to run through the schedule, beat the dog shit out of the Detroit Lions. But the last 2 weeks, you got Rasheed Walker. I wouldn't even say talking shit in the media, just throwing it out there. I think we can go undefeated. Immediately, you lose to the Browns. And the Browns, underrated, from the sense of their defensive front is disgusting. Their defense, a lot of talent. Should never, ever sleep on the Browns. Like, are the Browns a threat to make the playoffs? No. But generally speaking, they're a well-coached team. They got a ton of defensive talent. So it's not the worst thing in the world. But you kind of spoke it into existence by saying, I don't see any reason we can't go undefeated. Like, of course you're going to lose. The football gods are the cruelest of gods. And they will punish your hubris. If you're sitting there before week 3 talking about we can go undefeated, like, I don't care who you could be playing Texas A&M Commerce in a crossover with college football, and you're going to lose that game because the football gods they don't like that. They don't like it. But then you come out, the defense just gets shredded, and, like, we can't sleep on Dak either. This man has presided over the number one offense in the league before. You get into the playoffs, a different story. He's still got to prove himself there. But regular season, like, Dak Prescott is a football player. Like, let's not act like this guy is a certified bum. He is a good quarterback. He is a very capable, efficient quarterback who can put up numbers. You can't just roll anybody out there and say, it's Dak and the Cowboys. We're going to beat them. That's not how it works. And the Packers defense got shredded. And then this game management, it's like, I'm not worried about the Packers from the sense of, oh, are they not going to be any good? Are they going to miss the playoffs? Like, I'm worried about the Packers as a Vikings fan because like the Packers are going to win a bunch of games. But this is the type of stuff that prevents you from being a team that wins 12, 13, 14 games and winning a Super Bowl. Like, you could win 14 games and not sniff the Super Bowl because the games are won in the margins, and the margins become even more important in the playoffs. So, like, they're going to win a bunch of games. If you're a Packers fan, I don't like, you're going to make the playoffs. You might win the division. You already got the leg up on the Lions in the head to head. Granted, the Lions now are a half a game ahead of you in the standings, but there's time. There's plenty of time. It's still September. September football does not really matter. You can't win a Super Bowl in September. You can lose a Super Bowl in September by just like the Baltimore Ravens 1-3, ton of injuries. Like, they're staring down their own mortality right now. But you can't win a Super Bowl in September. Just keep yourself in a position. If you're 2-2, if you're 3-1, if you're 2-1-1, if you're 4-0, you're fine. It's fine. There's gonna be things to clean up. There's gonna be things to fix. You got 3+ months to do that, and the Packers will be fine. But if they don't clean this stuff up, this is the type of stuff that when you get into the playoffs, when the margins are razor thin, and that razor thin margin is the exact place where you are going to win or lose key games when it's one and done and you're out of here or you're moving on. That's what's going to kill you. So the Packers got to get that cleaned up. And then Micah Parsons, they credited him with a sack. And I don't think it was a sack. It wasn't. It was a hell of a play. And, Collinsworth is an industry plant. Collinsworth is there to hammer whatever the storyline is, to just hammer it into your skull for 3.5 hours. And it's so tiresome. We're all sick of it. It's either him just hammering this storyline over and over on every single play, or him glazing for 3.5 hours. It's exhausting to listen to. Just get him out of here. Get him out of here. None of us want to hear this dude talk. Maybe if you're a Chiefs fan and you also glaze Patrick Mahomes 7 days a week, 365 days a year, maybe you want to hear Chris Collinsworth glaze your guy for 3.5 hours. But nobody else wants to listen to this dude. But he's up there, oh, Micah Parsons, what a play. He just saved a touchdown. The corner had his back to the play. Dak, we've seen him. He's going to walk into the end zone, completely ignoring that Edgerrin Cooper was right there. Now, I'm not saying Dak wasn't going to score the touchdown, but it was going to be a play. Him and Edgerrin Cooper were going to collide, and maybe Dak muscles his way in the last yard or last half yard and they get the touchdown, or just the angle he's able to kind of like wrench his way around and spin his momentum to get that extra yard. Or maybe Edgerrin Cooper stops him. We don't know. But it was a fantastic play from Micah Parsons, looping all the way around, getting him from behind, not even allowing it to come down to that. So shouts out to Micah Parsons. It was a great play. It was a great play. But it wasn't a sack. But they had to give it to him because that's the narrow. They had to walk away. They had to give him the sack so that when you go on the ESPN app right after the game, the little video at the top is Micah Parsons sack saves the game, prevents Cowboys from winning. They needed that. They needed that for their little storylines, and whatever. Congratulations, you got a phantom sack. It did ultimately, whether it was a sack or not, does not change the outcome of the game. It's purely for the media to do what they do. But then last night, we get a couple Monday Night Football games, and Miami and the Jets. Oof. Miami's jersey's fantastic. The black uniforms were tremendous. Tyreek Hill shreds his knee. It looked brutal. Prayers up for Tyreek. He will probably, I assume, be out for the rest of the year. I just based on how it looked, I believe there was a report it was an ACL, so he's going to be out. But it was brutal. The Jets just can't get out of their own way. They just can't. Like Miami, Miami looked good in the second half against Buffalo, and then they come out and they win this game. But Miami's still Miami. They're not built to win. As much as I've hammered Mike McDaniel, as much as the shine has worn off, and he's cute and quirky, and it's fun. He's unlike any other coach. To now that it's become tiresome to people. Their GM does not get enough heat for how he has mismanaged this roster. He just doesn't. It's the defensive pieces that have been stripped away because we got to pay Tyreek and we got to pay Jalen Waddle and we got to pay Tua a bunch of money. It's just not a recipe for success. And the same thing can be said for the Bengals, who are not serious people. The Bengals have been maybe the most mismanaged organization in football. There's bad organizations like the Jets, again, who just habitually are terrible, even when it's, we got, look at all the talent we got on defense. And we got Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall, and we're going to trade for Devontae Adams, and we got Aaron Rodgers, and we still can't win more than a fistful of games because it's the Jets. Like, there's bad organizations. But the Bengals, you have Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase. Why are you paying T. Higgins? And that's nothing against T. Higgins. I would pay T. Higgins, but not if I had Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow. You guys sit here and tell me Andre Yoshivas can't catch a bunch of balls from Joe Burrow? That you need T. Higgins? And they kind of do the same things. They go deep, they jump up, they catch the ball. I think they missed Tyler Boyd. Tyler Boyd was a very unsung player, but what he did was very different from what Chase and Higgins did. And obviously you can't pay all three, but you can't pay these guys. You can't pay all of them. The fact that they didn't trade T. Higgins for assets and dump all those assets into the trenches is ridiculous because they can't protect whoever's back there at quarterback. And Joe Burrow is made of glass, and every other year he's going to miss the entire season. Protect the man. I don't care how great Joe Burrow is. I don't care how great his weapons are. If you can't protect him and then he gets hurt every other year, it doesn't matter. Even last year, he was healthy the whole year, and what happened? They still didn't make the playoffs because they can't protect the quarterback, and they got no defense except Trey Hendrickson. And to be quite honest, I would trade Trey Hendrickson. Not because Trey Hendrickson isn't great, not because you don't need someone like Trey Hendrickson, but the Bengals aren't close to competing. Trey Hendrickson's in his 30s. He's going to keep getting older. He is a depreciating asset for however great he may be right now. He led the league in sacks last year. That's the time to trade him. His value is high. Trade him to a contender. Trade him to a contender in the NFC. Could have traded him to the Packers before they went and got Micah Parsons. Get assets, pour it into the trenches. You are not close to competing. I know Joe Burrow is great. I know Jamar Chase is great. I know T. Higgins is great. But you're not close to competing. They're not a playoff team. At full health, full strength, they're not a playoff team. They're just not. Even beyond Hendrickson, they lost Pratt. They lost Hilton a couple years ago. They're just slowly stripping away pieces. They lost Jesse Bates a few years ago because they can't pay him because we got to pay Joe Burrow and we got to pay Jamar Chase and we got to pay T. Higgins. You do not need to pay those three guys. Pay Burrow, pay Chase, trade Higgins, trade Hendrickson, get a bunch of draft picks, pour it into the trenches, and you can quickly rebuild this thing because Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase are always going to keep you relevant. You could tank the rest of the roster as they have and still win 9 games. Like, all it takes is get a bunch of assets, draft and develop a bunch of guys, and you could turn it around in 1-2 years tops. That's all it takes with all those extra assets. But no, they're so married. And if you move on from those two guys and pour the assets into cheap rookies, you also then have a bunch of cap space to go fill out your roster in other areas. Go pay a premium for non-premium positions because you can get a stud running back fairly cheap. Look at how much the Eagles got Saquon Barkley for last year. It's Mickey Mouse money. It's nothing. They got the best running back in football for what What are they paying? 13, 14 million last year? That's nothing. You're paying T. Higgins what? Twice that to be a number 2 receiver? And he's going to touch the ball 85 times in a season, whereas Saquon Barkley's going to touch the ball 300 plus times in a season? You're going to sit here and tell me you need T. Higgins and Jamar Chase when you could get rid of T. Higgins, free up all that cap space, and go sign like the best running back in football. Go out and sign a stud linebacker. Off-ball linebackers, very undervalued position. Safety, very undervalued position. Look at what Cam Bynum is doing for the Indianapolis Colts. Look at what he did for the Vikings. Cam Bynum is a really good player, and even he got paid top-tier safety money, and he still only get paid $15 million. You get rid of Higgins and Hendrickson, the amount of money that you can sign 3 starters at key positions, or you can go sign a stud on the offensive line. Look at what the Vikings did. They're not paying a top corner or a top quarterback. They went out and signed Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, and Ryan Kelly now has his second concussion in 3 weeks, so prayers up to him. But like, if you're not paying a premium for these guys when you're not going to compete, you're just not going to. They're not a contender. They're not even a playoff team at full strength, in my opinion. Just don't waste the money. Why you got Jamar Chase? You want to pay Burrow and Chase? That makes perfect sense. Why are you paying T. Higgins? Take that money, invest it elsewhere, get assets back for Higgins, and dump that into your trenches. Even if you're going to keep Hendrickson, because it's like, well, we need to build around that stud, even if he's only going to be a stud for another couple years. But if you get rid of them both, the amount of cap space that frees up to fill out the depth around the roster, like all of a sudden you could have a pretty solid defense and a bunch of picks to fill out your offensive and defensive lines. This is not rocket science. Just a tremendously mismanaged. Who's their GM? Duke Tobin? Garbage. The dude is garbage. Get him out of here. How him and Zach Taylor still have jobs is wild to me. Zach Taylor, people talking about my guy JJ McCarthy is a handoff merchant. That's like the thing is you're a something merchant. Zach Taylor is a Joe Burrow merchant. Zach Taylor is that one phantom trip to the Super Bowl merchant where God knows how Zach Taylor coached the team to a Super Bowl. Makes no sense. That dude should have been fired before they even had the chance to go to the Super Bowl. He sucks. Zach Taylor looks like a Bob's Burgers character. He is a bum. He looks clueless out there. Absolute bozo, absolute buffoon. Get him out of there. Get Duke Tobin out of there. And if somehow you can get Mike Brown and the ownership out of there, just get them all out of there. It is a god-awful organization. And they're holding Joe Burrow back. They're holding Jamar Chase back. It's awful. Just awful. I have no transition for this, but the Philadelphia Eagles are 4-0. And of course, they're 4-0 and there's trouble in paradise. Oh, does A.J. Brown want to be traded because he's putting out cryptic tweets? What is it with receivers now with the cryptic tweets? I know receivers are prone to being divas, and I am very blessed as a Vikings fan to have Justin Jefferson, who is the anti-diva. He just like the only like wide receiver-ish thing about Jefferson, other than the fact that he's the best wide receiver in the game, is that he wears flashy chains and has a grill. Like, that's it. And he celebrates in a way that like the kids love. Like, it's totally inoffensive. But he just like practices harder than anyone, balls out in the games, goes home and plays video games. So we are blessed to have him. But I remember back in the day, the diva receivers, they would shoot off at the mouth. Now you got people like Diggs and A.J. Brown, and I love A.J. Brown. A.J. Brown is a cyborg. He is a tremendous player. But now it's all about the cryptic tweets and posting quotes or Bible verses that leave people thinking like, oh, wait, what is this about? Because theoretically, it could be about like a personal relationship in your personal life, or it could be about football. We don't know. But then it's a talking point. It becomes a distraction. Like, just if you got a problem with the amount of touches you're getting, just go talk to the coaches And maybe he has. And if that doesn't work, then just say it to the media. If you gotta make your point in public, just go find someone with a recorder, with a microphone, with a camera, and say, I should be getting more touches. That's it. Be open about it. Be straight up. What happened to the days of being straight up? Now it's just these cryptic tweets. It's just so stupid. I don't know. But it's the Eagles. They'll be fine. They were 4-2 last year, and everyone's trying to fire Sirianni. It's like, you're 4-2. You're fine. And then they go win the Super Bowl. Like, just, I don't know what it is with the Eagles. I know their fans are insane, and that's part of it. And to be completely honest, all football fans are just so overreactive week to week. One, like Vikings fans, after we lose to Atlanta, they run down our throats. This team sucks. We're dead in the water. We're not even going to sniff the playoffs. Then they blow out the Bengals. We're back, baby. The team is who we thought they were. We got a real shot this year. And then they go lose to the Steelers in Dublin. We're cooked. We're done. It's just week to week the mass overreactions of football fans. So it's really not even just Eagles fans, but Eagles fans are like the most extreme version of that. You're 4-0. It's fine. You have yet to put together a complete game, all 4 quarters, offense, defense, and special teams, and you're still 4-0. It's September. You got time to figure it out. Things looked rough in the first month and a half last year, and you win the Super Bowl. Like, just relax. Just relax, and let's draw up some plays for A.J. Brown. Let's be real. Like, he's A.J. Brown. Get him the ball. Get him the ball. Saquon Barkley is not having a great year, which you should have seen coming, because that's just historically running backs that have the workload that he had last year. There's always, I don't care how great they are, there's always a drop off the next year. But Jalen Hurts is the right guy. I talked about this in the quarterback rankings video that I put out last week. Check that out if you hadn't. Jalen Hurts is my 5th best quarterback in the league. And a large part of that is he's an elite, efficient game manager, and he just has this even temperament. He does not show any emotion at all. And in some cases, that might be bad. But with the Eagles in Philly, with that environment, and like, you got guys on the team that are hotheads, and you got A.J. Brown reading literature on the sideline and quoting Bible verses. Like, you need a quarterback that's just, none of it phases him. The Eagles are fine. They're more than fine. They're undefeated. Just relax. Just relax. Eagles fans, relax. Eagles players, relax. It's fine. We've seen enough from Tulo to feel like this is not going to be, what was his name, Brian Johnson, a couple years ago when they lost their 2 coordinators after that trip to the Super Bowl where they lost to the Chiefs. Like, that looked rough. This, he's just getting his footing under him. It's going to be fine. Relax. The Eagles are going to be there in the end. They're still the favorites. Just we don't need to look for controversy. And if you're A.J. Brown, you don't need to create controversy. You're 4-0. You're defending Super Bowl champions. You're a Pro Bowl receiver. You're going to get touches. You're going to get your touches. It's going to be fine. You won the game against a hated rival that had your number. Just relax. It's crazy. But Jalen Hurts is the guy to lead them there. Jalen Hurts is one of a small handful of guys who are getting paid a shit ton of money that are actually worth it. And for a couple of years, I was not in favor of him getting that type of money. I'm like, he's a good player, but is he worth 50, 53, 55 million? I don't know. But now I can say that he is. Those guys up there, Mahomes worth his money, Allen worth his money, Lamar worth his money. I'll keep Joe Burrow in that conversation. Jalen Hurts worth his money. My 6th ranked quarterback in the league, Baker Mayfield, is not in that class. I believe he's getting like $40 million. He's worth that money. But to me, it's like there's 2 lines here. There's the Tua line, and then there's the Baker Mayfield line. If you got one of these like somewhere in the middle, if you got a quarterback that's, somewhere between like the 7th best quarterback and the 18th best quarterback and they're below the Baker Mayfield line, probably worth it. Probably worth it. And yeah, there's variance in there. Like, do I want to be paying Geno Smith $40 million a year? Probably not. But if you're above the Tua line, if you're getting paid 50 million, 53 million, like Tua, Trevor Lawrence, Brock Purdy is now in this conversation. There was a couple years in there where I felt like Brock Purdy was a bit underrated, even still. But once you get paid, Tua was underrated before he got paid. Once you get paid, everything changes. Because now you're rated as a 50, 53, 55, or in Dak Prescott's case, $60 million quarterback. If you're at that level, you're getting that much money, they're not going to be able to pay the rest of the roster unless they're doing some serious gymnastics. Like the Jalen Hurts contract is incredibly well structured where the cap hits are very low, and then there's it's like a $90 million cap hit, but it's at the year where there's expected they redo the TV rights deals and there's going to be another precipitous jump in the cap number, and then like you extend them and restructure it, so you're not going to have a $90 million cap hit there, but if you're not doing that, like it's gonna become a problem. You look at the Bengals, you look at the Dolphins with Tua, the amount of defensive talent that they've lost over the years because we got to pay the quarterback. And with both of those teams, they also paid 2 receivers. We talked about this. That's the most egregious part of this whole thing is paying the quarterback and 2 receivers. If you're paying the quarterback's got to fill in some gaps. Now, the key is he's got to be able to overcome deficiencies on the roster, a la Josh Allen. There are deficiencies all over the Bills roster, but Josh Allen has them winning 12, 13 games and going to championship games because he is the best quarterback in football, and that's his job. He is being paid to fill in those gaps. And part of those gaps is the way I would do it is you can only pay a handful of guys top tier money. If you got the quarterback, pay defenders. Now, if you have a Jamar Chase, I would pay him too, because then you become a truly like top tier lethal offense with a top tier quarterback and a top tier wide receiver. But if you don't have a top tier receiver, like the Bills were paying Diggs. Diggs was a depreciating asset in his 30s, so they let him go. And it's like we're gonna have Keon Coleman and Khalil Shakir and Dalton Kincaid and Dawson Knox, and we're just gonna trust that we got competent weapons and Josh Allen's going to figure out how to use them. We got James Cook in the backfield. We got a couple other guys we like. We just have solid talent all around. Josh Allen's the superhero. He's going to figure out how to make this work. And then we can pay Ed Oliver. We can pay Greg Russo. We can bring in Nick Bosa. We can pay Christian Benford. Like, that's the way to do it. If you're paying a top-tier quarterback and you don't also have a top-tier receiver, pay your defenders, pay your linemen, and pay your quarterback. And with the weapons, tell your quarterback, you got to figure this out. Like, you can't tell me Joe Burrow's not good enough that if he didn't have Jamar and T, that he still wouldn't be putting up numbers and moving the ball. 100% he would. If you put Joe Burrow in the Bills situation, like, they're going to have a good offense. They just will. You don't need 2 elite receivers. If you're going to pay 2 elite receivers, it's a situation where it's like, we're going to let, someone on like the Kirk Cousins, Geno Smith tier, we're going to let them walk and we're going to bring in a rookie. Or we're going to take a chance on a Sam Darnold, someone like that. But we're going to make sure we got 2 stud weapons out there that is going to maximize his chance for success. If you have a top 5 quarterback, you do not need 2 stud receivers. It just is what it is. But there's too many people, and we're starting to see this middle class fill itself out, which is good for the game. It's good for teams. It's good for fans of all these teams, where you have, the Baker Mayfields, the Sam Darnolds, people of that ilk that are making $30 to $40 million. You're making 15, 20, sometimes 30 million less than the top tier guys. Like, that's like 2 impact players, or like 3 or 4 solid starters, or a bunch of depth guys if you got a bunch of like young studs on rookie deals. Like that extra $20 to $30 million goes a long way when you're not paying a quarterback or a receiver or an edge rusher with that money. So like I feel like we've started to get away from this, but then the Niners pay Brock Purdy. It's like, dude, you got Kyle Shanahan. Mac Jones looked damn good for 2 weeks with Kyle Shanahan. Like, and this is not an indictment on Brock Purdy. I like Brock Purdy a lot, but do you need Brock Purdy specifically? Do you need to pay this guy $53-55 million? Or is that going to get, are you going to get to a point where now you can't pay Fred Warner anymore? Or you can't pay George Kittle. You already had to let a bunch of guys go. They let Javon Kinlaw go. They let Javon Hargrave go. Eric Armstead. There's just a bunch of really good, really solid defenders that they had to let walk because they're going to pay a quarterback $55 million. And this Brock Purdy, as good as he is, I forget where I had him. I think I had him ranked as my eighth or ninth best quarterback. I think ninth best quarterback. Like, Brock Purdy's a damn good player, but you have a great head coach with a great system in place. You got a bunch of weapons. You got studs on defense. Like, I don't know that you needed to pay Brock Purdy that much money. I think it's kind of a mistake, and I'm really considering whether Joe Burrow falls into this category, but it's tough because like he's been to a Super Bowl and he does have that tangible it factor, and the organization is just so bad. It's like we even if I want to question, I can't hold it against Joe Burrow. The Bengals are the Bengals. That ain't his fault. They're holding him hostage. I would love to see Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase on some other team that doesn't have just a habitual dumpster fire organization around the players. Now, one habitual dumpster fire organization is the Jacksonville Jaguars, who have looked good this year. Trevor Lawrence, very low completion percentage. I don't know what his adjusted completion percentage is. Let me see if I could pull this up. Because last time I checked, Trevor Lawrence had the second lowest completion percentage in the league among qualified passers, behind only rookie Cam Ward, who has just started his first 4 games in the league. But here we go. Adjusted passing. Let's see what his adjusted completion percentage. And they don't want to show it. So, I don't know. It's not important. But regular completion percentage, second to last, the last time I checked. But they lead the league in drops, so like it's definitely not all on him. But they're 3-1. They look good. Their defense is humming out there. They're balling out. And old Bob Saleh, friend of the show, Robert Saleh, now defensive coordinator for the 49ers, made some comments last week ahead of their game that the Jags are one of the best teams at legal sign stealing. And I'm not going to pretend to know the intricacies of legal sign stealing, but you read the comments, you listen to the comments. It was meant as a compliment, but you can understand where Liam Coen would bristle at accusations of sign stealing, especially we're not that far removed from the Michigan sign stealing. And that's not what Bob Saleh was saying at all. He was very clear, legal sign stealing. Like, he was not complaining, he was not bemoaning, he was giving them credit. And he listed off some other coaches that he felt like were also very good at it. But Liam Coen did not take kindly to this, so after they're finished beating the 49ers, he roams around the field and he finds Bob Saleh. He goes up to him, he says, "Keep my name out your fucking mouth." Bob Saleh, you look at Bob Saleh and he looks like a Navy SEAL. Like, he just looks like a trained killer. And he says something to the effect of, "Don't fuck with me. I'll fucking end your fucking life." And it's like, whoa, Bob. I don't know if we need to be that aggressive on a football field. You be aggressive within the confines of the game, inside the white lines, but you're a coach. I don't know if you need to be threatening someone's life. But Liam Coen, I think, again, continues to come out looking good here. I like the fact you look at Liam Coen, he looks kind of goofy, he looks like kind of a nerd, maybe, a nerdy, probably former quarterback. He's got some size and length to him. The whole Duval, that whole fiasco. But then he makes fun of himself in his first team meeting, and he's got the phone, and he's got the whole team behind him, and they all say Duval. Like he's able to make fun of himself. He's able to sort of self scout, self correct. And again, he OC'd Baker Mayfield throwing 40 touchdowns last year. Like the dude knows something about some football. So I've been high on Liam Coen. I was high. I picked the Jaguars to win the division. That's looking pretty solid right now. They're tied with the Colts. That could be a dogfight. The Texans picked up a win. Maybe they can work their way back into the conversation. We'll see. But I'm a Liam Coen guy, and this is just another thing. Like you just picture Liam Coen, and then picture him going up to Bob Saleh and saying, "Keep my name out your fucking mouth." Like that's a guy. If I was a player on the Jaguars, I'm looking at that like, hell yeah, that's my coach. So shouts out Liam Coen. Also, prayers up for Justin Matabuke, not 100% sure how to pronounce his name. I've known about him for years, and I still don't know how to pronounce his name, but he is out for the season. If you look at the splits defensively for the Ravens when he's on the field, when he's not on the field, it's pretty stark. So this looks pretty bleak. I mean, you look at the last couple of games they played, got the shit kicked out of them by the Chiefs. Week before that, their defense got the shit kicked out of them by the Detroit Lions on Monday Night Football. So pretty rough. And then the Ravens, they also lost Nate Wiggins. They lost, who else did they lose? They lost Roquan Smith. Lamar Jackson obviously goes down with the hamstring. I think they lost a couple other guys. They lost Ronnie Stanley. Who else did they lose? Marlon Humphreys. Like they were dropping people like flies. So they're 1-3, and it's not like we're 1-3 by circumstance, but like we have one of the most talented rosters in football. We have a top 3 quarterback in football. Like we'll figure. They were 0-2 last year, and you're like the Ravens will figure this out. They're 1-3 this year. With all these injuries, I don't know how long these guys are going to be out. Obviously, Madubuike out for the season, but it's looking rough. Hamstring is a tough injury, especially for a guy like Lamar and his mobility, and not even just like him running, but like his like quick twitchiness, like just moving a few inches in the pocket. Like I could see how that quick twitchiness might, like he could tweak the hamstring. So I would assume he's going to try and be out there this week, but I would also kind of assume that they're not going to let him be out there. And they do have Cooper Rush, who we've seen step in with the Cowboys with a highly talented team and win some football games. And Derrick Henry's still back there, so you're just going to have to lean into the run. But you're down a stud tackle. You might be down your star top 3 quarterback. You're down 2 corners. You're down maybe your most important defensive lineman. You're down your most important linebacker. Like even if these guys are out for a mix of 2 to 3 weeks, like you could, the Ravens can end up 1-5, and then even then it's like even if they get everybody back except Justin Madubuike, you're it's a big hole to dig out of. Like they could still make life miserable for teams on their schedule if they get these guys back in a couple weeks, but I don't know, man. It's not the Ravens' year for circumstances beyond their control. The Derrick Henry fumbles, which are just so uncharacteristic, and then just all these injuries at once. It's brutal, man. So pour one out for the Ravens. I'm always have love for the other purple team, so pour one out for the Ravens. And then the last little quick hitter here is there's so many blocked kicks this year. It's wild. I've never seen anywhere close to this amount of blocked kicks. Like last week, there was the Eagles blocked the kick and Jordan Davis returns it for a touchdown. And you flip the channel and the same thing happened literally like 2 minutes later. There was like 5 block kicks last week, and then this past weekend, I personally saw at least 3. And then there was the Eagles blocked punt. It's like I don't know if I don't believe there was like a rule change on this. I don't know if there's just like some weird technique that someone figured out and has trickled through all the special teams coaches throughout the league, or if it's just like, I don't know. I don't know why. I've yet to see anyone talk about it beyond just like, hey, here's another block kick. Isn't this crazy? And it is crazy, but just weird. Like, it was the one week, and it's like, okay, just a weird week. But then like the next week happens, and it happened again. So I don't know. Pretty wild. But thanks for tuning in on a Let Me Talk to You Tuesday on Football Head Show. We'll have the noob football picks coming up probably Thursday morning. We'll see. I might squeeze another episode in here before the games on Sunday. And like, subscribe, tell a friend. We're trying to grow the channel. We're staying dedicated here every week. But likes do go a long way. Comment, start some conversations with people. We all love talking ball. So let's get some conversations going. Subscribe. It costs you nothing to subscribe. It is totally free. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Till next time, take it easy, football heads.
Move it, football head!